Hey guys, welcome back to the Friday Vlog, where we discuss activity that goes on here with the BuzWeaver channel. That includes things like current events, pop culture, social media, technology, and items of interest that come up during the week, to include shorts that allow us to have a little bit of a dialogue. I want to thank all of you guys across New Tech, as well as everyone here on YouTube, for your guys' continued support.
We start things off from the AP. Sidney Powell pleads guilty over efforts to overturn Trump's loss in Georgia and agrees to cooperate. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's important to note here that this legal maneuvering was to achieve what's going to happen right here with Sidney Powell, because one of these individuals, and now maybe all of them, are going to flip, because all they needed was one instance, one individual, to even plead guilty to lesser charges, to simply say, you see, they were guilty. That's all they need. And then, of course, they'll expand on that, exaggerate, they will sensationalize. But let's read what the AP has to say here. Lawyer Sidney Powell pleaded guilty to reduced charges Thursday over efforts to overturn Donald Trump's loss in the 2020 election in Georgia, becoming the second defendant in the spiraling case to reach a deal with prosecutors. See, they had to put in spiraling case. They're going to just have a field day with this in the next weeks and months and next year, because all they needed was one person to flip on Trump, like they did with Cohen, like they did with some of Donald Trump's personal attorneys. They just need these individuals to flip so that they can at least justify in their own minds about what they're trying to do. Now, this does not necessarily suggest or imply complete guilt, right? As in the total admission to everything. She's just pleading out. She's just pleading to lesser charges so she can get out of this mess. So they're going to, and this is all they needed, is the pressure. This is the system, right? This is the Establishment Uni-party system, the intimidation factor that they can put on people. And like we talk about when it comes to lawfare, these are the tricks and maneuvers that our legal system can use, attorneys can use, grand juries can use, judges can use to manipulate and coerce people. Now, I'm not saying that happens in every situation, but in this particular situation, this procedural situation, she knew that she was going to have to do something to save herself. Powell, who was charged alongside Trump and 17 others with violating the state's anti-racketeering law, or RICO, entered the plea just a day before jury selection was set to start in her trial. She pleaded guilty to 6 misdemeanors, accusing her of conspiring to intentionally interfere with the performance of election duty. So the wording here is something that the mainstream media is not going to focus on. So she went with lesser charges. So they had to, so in other words, it's kind of a bait and switch, right? She either goes all in and pleads not guilty, or they try to work out a deal. You always hear that phrasing when it comes to certain things in law, working out a deal. We're going to work out a deal. Now, really what it is to expedite certain cases and to move things along. When I worked for the state, we saw this all the time. The DAs would try to work a deal with us, or with our particular department, of course, because they want to expedite these cases, because we would get 20 at a time. I was the legal assistant to 2 of the attorneys, and we would have as many as 20 for each, so 40 people during a particular case. So yeah, everybody's going to want to move things along. Now, this is an extraordinarily different situation because they're involving RICO. RICO was really designed to deal with the mafias and gangs and these sorts of things, because there's a lot of loose interpretation that can be gleaned from this. Now, I'm not a legal expert. I was just a humble legal assistant. But just seeing what's happening here, this is what happens in the courts of law. People watch movies, they watch TV shows, they watch, Judge Judy and all these kinds of things, and they don't realize what's actually taking place, what's actually happening in these situations. And of course, the courts want to move these things along, just like any type of business who wants to solve a problem and move on to the next one, because things continue on. But this is the maneuvering, the legal maneuvering that they use, because they just needed any one of these people to plead guilty to something, even if it's a misdemeanor. And the thing is, of course, the mainstream media isn't going to explain that to you. That's why I wanted to explain it to you as best I can. Now, I'm not trying to give you legal advice. I am not an attorney. I'm simply saying, based upon my experience having worked in law, these wheelings and dealings that they do, and it's just the extraordinary level that this lawfare is reaching is absolutely just, I just shake my head at it the whole time. As part of the deal, she will serve 6 years of probation, will be fined $6,000, and will have to write an apology letter to Georgia and its residents. She doesn't write one to me. She also recorded a statement for prosecutors and agreed to testify truthfully, well, I don't know how much truthfully she will, against her co-defendants at future trials. That was it right there. Flip. They want her to flip on Trump. They want her to expose the entirety of the process of what they were engaged in. Now, she made a lot of rather outlandish statements her own self during this, which I thought was a little unreasonable. But, you know, attorneys say a lot of things, and attorneys think they can win in most any situation and in most cases because the law is a system, right? It is a process. It is a procedure of the way things happen and the way things unfold. So Powell was initially charged with racketeering and 6 other counts as part of a wide-ranging scheme, oh, look at that, love the wording, to keep the Republican president in power after his loss in 2020 election to Democrat Joe Biden, who is the Establishment Uni-party selected person, which is what they should have talked about. They should have talked about ballot harvesting and the changings of law and the violation of Pennsylvania law to ensure that they could manipulate and do things with ballot harvesting and mail-in ballots. But they went with this bizarre route of just a very general interpretation of what was going on. Now, I don't want to mention it here because YouTube gets all excited about it, but the plea deal makes Powell the most prominent known person to be working with prosecutors investigating Trump's efforts to overturn the election. It's just amazing. Her cooperation in the case and participation in strategy talks threatens to expose the former president and offer insight on what he was saying and doing in the critical period after the election. There it is. That's all they wanted. They just needed one person to flip, one person to say, or even plead guilty to even the smallest thing to say that there was guilt involved. And it's just absolutely astounding. So we're going to go over here to Ed Krasenstein. Sidney Powell's guilty plea in Fani Willis's Georgia case not only spells bad news for Trump, but it also means that we will likely see more guilty pleas from Trump's co-defendants. Of course, because they want the deal. They want to get out. Ladies and gentlemen, when you are either in jail or you're in court, you want out of that situation as quickly as possible. You want to be out of jail. You want to be out of court. You want to be out of this situation as quickly as you can. It's intimidating. It's frightening. It's disturbing at the same time, too. You are in fear of what could potentially happen based upon some even radical lawyer or radical judge. I mean, these people have amazing amounts of authority and can get you in some really serious jams. And Powell knows this. Powell has agreed to truthfully testify, again, using the same phrasing from the AP, against the co-defendants, which will very likely include Trump. This means the other defendants know that if they don't take a plea deal, she will likely be testifying against them. So that's the whole thing. It's all an entrapment. It's all maneuvering. It's all part of the system of what we use in our everyday life. It's sad to see it. This is horrible for Trump's defense. We could see multiple co-defendants flip on him, and that's unfortunately what we were just saying. They're going to flip, but this is what they wanted. They wanted this because, of course, as you know, as we covered here, in many states they're trying to remove Trump off the ballot. So if they can find even the smallest bit of leveraging in any of this, of course, now this could all be appealed. Now Trump could appeal this to the Supreme Court, of course, and then they could say that, first off, you can't remove him from the ballot, which I think the Supreme Court has addressed that in one of the states. I don't recall, maybe Colorado. I don't remember the specific state. But it's just extraordinary, isn't it? Now, I wanted to share something with you, just from my own personal side of things, because I think this is so pivotal. This is from John 16, verse 33. I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world. Now, this is a most extraordinary, pivotal piece of verse for me as a believer, because Jesus is trying to exemplify here that we are going to experience trouble. In other words, one of the most common question asked among non-believers, atheists, and so forth, and skeptics is, if there is a God, then why is there evil in this world? And that is, of course, in the simplest way of doing it here for time, is because we have free will. And so Jesus is trying to explain that, you are given the free will, and there will be trouble in this world. No matter what you do, there is injustice in this world. There is injustice. But take heart, I have overcome the world. What he's saying here is, I have overcome the system. I have overcome man's inclinations. I have overcome man's thinking process when it comes to true justice and truth. So he's overcome it. And he's saying these words to encourage people who may be suffering from injustice to know that they will one day get the perfect justice. Those who deserve it and those who needed the justice, needed a better system than what man has created, and so forth. And that's what I had for you guys this Friday.
All right, guys, so that's going to wrap it up for this Friday vlog. Thank you for the likes, the shares, and the comments. And, of course, below this video, you can find the various social links that I belong to, as well as the Amazon links. So if you have Prime and or are a frequent orderer from Amazon, is order a actual word? You can find those links below. The landing pages will work just as a regular Amazon. And, of course, all your orders do help support the channel as a influencer, or Amazon influencer, as they want us to let everyone know. And of course, guys, thank you across all of New Tech, as well as here on YouTube, for your guys' continued support. So appearing there on the screen, that would be the obligatory YouTube channel here for the BuzWeaver channel. You guys can click on that and subscribe, as well as to select notifications. That way you know when there's content here on the channel. And I'll see all you guys behind the Galaxy phone camera next Friday.